Nigeria's inflation halted the December slowdown, rising to 21.8% in January. Nigeria's National Bureau of Statistics has tied the increase to a rise in the prices of food items. Food inflation also hit 24.3% in January. Emmanuel Onasami, the lead partner at Cardinal Professional Services, joins us now to unpack those numbers. Emmanuel, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank you so much.
So obviously, food inflation is a key driver for the numbers we saw in January.
It's one of the big issues.
No doubt. And the big question is, where is this headed? But what do you make of the numbers in January?
Okay, if you can just unpack the number, and see what is going on. If you look at it, the headline inflation says we are currently at 21.82%, which is about an increase from what was reported in December, about 49 basis points increase in inflation. And it has been reported that food inflation is one of the biggest contributors to this number. If you look at all item index, taking away farm produce, which are food, you see that the number is a bit around 19.16. That gives you a sense that food inflation is responsible for the variance of like 5.6. And monitoring the headline inflation, looking at the economy at large, you will see that we have been inflation has been increasing month on month for the past 5 months. And for an economy where you have more than about 54% of its people living a miserable life based on the misery index, and you have about 60-something percent, 63% having multidimensional poverty, and it's something that the government needs to arrest in earnest if at all we want to make life easy for Nigeria.
I think what is clear right now is that the food inflation number has been high for I imagine maybe about 2 years now, and you just mentioned that it's important that something is done to address this. And in terms of that dynamic, what in your view is a key issue that can be addressed here? Is it ensuring greater supply? Is it keeping a handle on the exchange rate? How exactly do you think this can be best addressed?
Okay, speaking to the food inflation, and conversely, in December it eased a bit, it dropped, and
but not significantly.
Yeah, not significantly, but in January it spiked again to 24.32, which is something everybody can feel, even yourself. Your people go to the market, they tell you, wow, last month's allowance can no longer do it. And that is how practical the food inflation that we have experienced is. The biggest contributors to these numbers are actually, the fact that although the CBN has made attempts to arrest inflation, but the CBN efforts has not yielded result because there are some external factors beyond the CBN, that are contributing to this number. The issue of insecurity, logistics has become a challenge to transport food from wherever it's coming from in the farm to the city where it will be sold. You look at the issue of fuel scarcity. People had to buy fuel at exorbitant prices. Production cost has escalated significantly. Also coupled with the fact that the Naira dimension that came into play, where you have to even pay for Naira to buy Naira, to get cash. Those are some of the things that contributed to the food inflation as seen in the number, and even other aspects of the economy. And addressing this, I think, the CBN in January during the MPC meeting, increased the interest rate and also tightened the cash reserve ratio with the hope that it's going to help, curb or tighten the monetary policy and then subsequently reduce inflation. But that has not yielded result based on what the MBS has just rolled out. And from experience, we've come to realize that, short-term measures like increasing interest rates and tightening your cash reserve ratio, they are only effective if the fundamentals are not grossly bad. The fundamentals in Nigeria are grossly bad, and that's why the CBN, even they go that route, the impact of that measure is not immediately felt.
So these fundamentals you're speaking of are the points like insecurity, as you mentioned?
Yes, those are the fundamentals, things that makes for production costs to reduce, that makes security. Look at the political unrest we are currently experiencing, and for you to really get inflation, you must encourage production and create demand for Naira. So other currency has to be chasing Naira. But if we have political unrest, we have insecurity, we have fuel scarcity, we have, all those fundamentals are not just right, Even if you increase your interest rate, investors will definitely step back and look at other factors before bringing in their fund into the economy.
Right. And if we can focus a bit on core inflation, which many suggest is an area that the monetary authorities can have a more significant impact on. What is your outlook for that?
Yeah, although the core inflation also increased, if you look at it year on year, traveling for like 14 to 19.16, adding about 5%, And if you look at the other aspects contributing to that, you will see that oil and gas, the price of LPG, the price of fuel are those things that are contributing to that. Looking at that, monetary policy in the short term may be able to help stabilize that industry. But in the long term, looking at the outlook for 2023, we are also hopeful that when we get some projected economic activities started, it will better improve that core inflation. For example, it has been projected that some refining activities will kick off, this year. The Dangote refining, some modular refineries that may kick off operation this year. That will help also, although it's not a silver bullet that will solve all our problem, but it will go a long way to help us to tightening the measure around inflation, And among other things, that the outcome of the 23 election is also very important, Investors' confidence in the nation, depending on whoever emerges as the winner from the election, we also decide whether these numbers will be looking friendly or they will go awry.
Thank you very much for your insights. We look forward to more analysis from you in the future. Emmanuel Onasami, the lead partner at Cardinal Professional Services.
Thank you very much.